In this video, we got another episode of the series where I rate and improve your guys' teams. You guys will send me your teams on Twitter at x7sanaka. I'll give you guys my best suggestions and my rating 1 through 10. Could be a 6, a 7, 8, a 9, or a 10, whatever I do think about your squad. So if you guys also want to leave your team down below in the YouTube comment section, let me know what your guys' team's looking like right now, and let me know how much MT you guys have, and I'll give you guys my best suggestions to help improve your squad. But looking at the first team here on the video is going to come in from Josiah, I think it's how you pronounce it. He's got 150,000 MT, and he's got a very good overall squad. I mean, 150,000 MT, you can't make too many upgrades, but for the rating out of 10, I would say this is probably a solid like 8.5, maybe even 9 out of 10. I think Scottie Pippen could definitely go. If you just wanted to make one upgrade for your squad, or like the minimal amount of upgrades, I think honestly, just getting Carmelo Anthony for that starting small forward spot, and then moving Scottie Pippen to the backup 3, and having James Worthy at the backup 4, it's the most simple upgrade, but I honestly think it's the best, because I feel like Carmelo will just give you so much more offense on the starting lineup that I feel like you really need, because on your starting lineup right now, you don't really have like an offensive guy. Like Kobe's more defensive focused, same thing with Lonzo Ball. They're going to be great defenders and they're great offensive cards as well, but I think for the starting lineup, you really need a guy like Carmelo. So I'd get Carmelo, move Scottie Pippen to the backup 3, and then slide James Worthy to the backup 4. And overall, I think that team becomes a little bit better. Looking at the next team here coming in from, I think it's Derek. He's got 160,000 MT, and he is on current gen. Now, I'm assuming you would have Tyson Chandler Evo'd being the diamond version. Rating 1 through 10, I think this team is definitely going to be a little bit weaker than the last one. I would say probably 7.5 out of 10. Not really the biggest fan of your bench. Starting lineup wise, I think your starting lineup is very, very decent. First thing I want to talk about though is going to be your small forwards and your power forwards. Now, Rudy Gay and James Worthy, I definitely think are very solid. What I would do though personally is get Thurl Bailey and get a guy like Jonathan Isaac. I think those guys right there are way better than OG Anunoby and Sharif. So I would personally start Thurl Bailey at the starting power forward position alongside Rudy Gay, and then off the bench I would go Jonathan Isaac and James Worthy. I like having Isaac and Worthy on the same court because, you know, Worthy is a little bit smaller of a power forward, so having Jonathan Isaac at the small forward position just gives you a little bit more height. So for me, your starting lineup would be Russ, Jerry Stackhouse, Rudy Gay, Thurl Bailey, and then for your center, I would probably go with Evan Mobley or Kristaps Porzingis, whoever you want to go with on your starting lineup. I do think Kristaps is a little bit better, so I get Kristaps for your starting center position, and then for your backup center, you can either go with the Tyson Chandler, the Brook Lopez, or Evan Mobley as well. But for me, I would get Kristaps as your starting center. And then your bench, I do like Rex Chapman. I think for your shooting guard position, you can maybe go super cheap and get a guy like George Gerving. I think that would be definitely a decent option as well. For me though, I think Shea could also play on this lineup as well as your starting point guard or your backup. But those would be my suggestions for your squad. Overall though, I think it's a pretty decent team. And if you were to make those suggestions, the team would become a lot better. Now looking at the third team here of the video, coming in from CarTruck, he's got 400,000, almost 500,000 MT, and he's got honestly one of the best squads in the game. Not really too many suggestions I can give for this lineup except for the bench. Definitely get a guy like Shea. I think Shea is going to give you so much more offense on that bench unit, where if you look at your bench right now, once again, you really don't have too much offense. You have Lonzo, Kobe, LeBron. I mean, they're good cards, but they're not going to be really that great offensively. So I think if you put a guy like Shea over Lonzo Ball, you still have great defense in Kobe, LeBron, and Giannis. Like, that is going to be some amazing defense across the board to make up for Shea's a little bit lack of defense. But then those cards aren't the greatest offensively, at least, you know, with the ball in their hands playmaking wise. If you give the ball to Shea, he can be your main scorer off the bench. So I think overall, the rating out of 10 before the Shea upgrade, I mean, it's like a 9.5. It's basically one of the best teams in the game. Just for me though, the only upgrade would be Shea over Lonzo Ball, and then I like a guy like Kristaps over Hakeem, but that really comes down to preference. But overall, one of the best looking squads in the game. And the next team here coming in from BCF, he's got a decent squad. He's got 350,000 MT, and his Ori and Chandler are Evo. So he has a Diamond Tyson Chandler and the Diamond Robert Ori. So I'd say for this squad, rating out of 10, it looks to be probably like an 8 out of 10. I think it's a very decent squad. First thing I'm seeing right now is I would probably move DeMarcus Cousins to the center position. If you want to run him at power forward, I think you could, but I'd probably put him to center and then move Tyson Chandler to your backup center position. So those would be your two centers. And then for your power forwards, I would move Thurl Bailey to the 4 and then get Evan Mobley for the backup 4. And then for your small forwards, I'd go Rudy Gay and Jonathan Isaac as well. So your front court would be, for example, on your starting lineup would be Rudy Gay, Thurl Bailey, DeMarcus Cousins, and then off the bench would be Jonathan Isaac. I mean, you could probably go Jonathan Isaac, Evan Mobley, and then Tyson Chandler. And then for your shooting guard position, I like Clyde Drexler. I think for the backup 2, you could honestly get a guy like Grant Hill. He's only about 65 to 70,000 MT, and he's going to be way better than Houston. And then for your point guards, I think your point guards are fine. I like Russ and I like Shea as well. So those would be my suggestions for your squad, but overall, not not really that bad of a squad, a pretty decent team. Looking at the next squad here though, coming in from Dash, he's got 150,000 MT, and Tyson is also evoed. A lot of people in this video are using that Tyson Chandler card. I understand he's a really good diamond, but I don't think he's anything too crazy. I think for this lineup though, rating out of 10, it's a very good squad. I would say your only main, kind of upgrades I would make are going to be Gordon Hayward and Tyson Chandler, because besides that, I mean, this squad's very good. I would say 9 out of 10, maybe 8.5 before the upgrades. But for your small forward position, I mean, I like a guy like Rudy Gay more than a guy like Gordon Hayward. But if you have 150,000 MT, I would honestly try to save up for a guy like Carmelo, especially if you like Tyson Chandler and you want to keep him as your backup center. You could get a guy like Carmelo. He's a bit more than 150,000, probably like 200,000 MT. But if you were to save up for him, right, get him at the small forward position and then get rid of Gordon Hayward, and you like Tyson Chandler, I think that squad becomes a 9 out of 10. Because for me, I think the only main upgrade you need is going to be getting rid of Gordon Hayward and Tyson Chandler as well. You could also maybe slide Mobley to the 5, slide Jonathan Isaac to the 4, and then go Rudy Gay at the backup 3 if you wanted to do that as well. So that's another kind of, or even James Worthy if you didn't want to. Honestly, you know what you could do instead of Carmelo? Is you could get a guy like Rudy Gay, start him at the small forward position, or start James Worthy, and then you can get rid of Tyson Chandler, move Mobley to the 5, Jonathan Isaac to the 4, and then either Worthy or Rudy Gay, whoever you didn't start, at the backup 3. So without even buying anybody, those would be good suggestions as well. But I think Carmelo Anthony would definitely help this team a lot, especially on the offensive end. And then looking at the next team here, coming in from Krazy, he's got the Goon squad. He's got 110,000 MT, so not too much MT to work with. For the rating out of 10, I think this is a very well put together squad. I would say 9 out of 10. It's basically similar to this team, right? This team's got Jordan, Opal, it's got Ricky Davis, but this team I feel like is more complete and more put together. I'd say they're both around 9 out of 10 though. Like, I think they're very similar squads. This lineup though, I mean, there's really not much you can make a, an upgrade for or a change. The only position I maybe try to get rid of is that Scottie Pippen, but once again, with 100,000 MT, not much I think you can do. So once again, for your squad, I would say probably just save up for a guy like Carmelo Anthony, because I like your point guards. I think Shea and Russ, that's what I currently run right now. I think it's a really good point guard duo having Shea and Russ. Your twos, I like Jimmy, I like Grant Hill, I like Thurl Bailey, I like Jonathan Isaac. Mobley, I think what you could maybe do is save up for a guy like Kareem if you wanted to, and then move Jonathan Isaac to the backup 3, Mobley to the backup 4, and then get a guy like Kareem for the backup 5, or start Kareem and then have Kristaps off the bench. I think that's another kind of scenario you can go with, but I'd say either get Kareem or get Carmelo, and then do what I said for each one. If it's Carmelo, pretty much just start him and then have James Worthy off the bench, and if you go with Kareem, slide Isaac to the 3, Mobley to the 4, and then pick up a Kareem for the backup 5. And then guys, looking at the last squad here, coming in from Mumbo, he's got 420,000 MT. He might get Shea, and he's wondering if he should get Mobley for the bench. 1000% to answer that first question. 100%, or not question, but definitely get Shea. 1000%, way better than a guy like Trae Young. Honestly guys, I think Shea might be the best point guard in the game, and he's only about 50,000 MT. So for your squad, 1000% get Shea. Looking at the team though, for rating out of 10, I'm not really the biggest fan of your bench. I think your starting lineup is definitely decent. I would say a squad probably like a 7, maybe 6 point. I'd probably say a 7, maybe a 6.5 out of 10. I think honestly, for your starting lineup, first off, I would get a better center. Kristaps, I think, is a lot better than a guy like Sabonis. I think you could also get Thurl Bailey for your starting power forward position, and then move Giannis to the backup 4. So your power forwards would be Thurl Bailey and Giannis, and then for your centers, I would go Kristaps, and then Tyson Chandler is not a bad option as well for the backup center position, but I'd probably go Mobley. So your centers would be Kristaps, Mobley. Your power forwards would be Thurl and Giannis, and then for your small forwards, I would personally go Rudy Gay and Jonathan Isaac. I think they're both better than Gordon Hayward and Draymond. For your shooting guards, I like Clyde Drexler. I just think for the backup shooting guard position, I mean, you could go for a guy like Ricky Davis if you wanted to spend a lot of MT. He's about 150 to 175,000. You could start him over Clyde and then have Clyde off the bench. And then for your backup point guard position, go with Shea, and then you can maybe even start Shea and then have Russ off the bench. So I think your lineup could look something like Shea, Ricky Davis, let's say Jonathan Isaac, Thurl Bailey, and Kristaps, and then your bench could be Russ, Clyde, let's say Rudy Gay, Giannis, and then Mobley. I think the team becomes a lot better, and probably like an 8, maybe even 8.5 out of 10, and maybe even a 9 out of 10 with those suggestions. But hopefully you guys enjoy the video. Like I said earlier, let me know in the comment section down below, what is your guys teams looking like right now, and let me know how much MT you guys have, and I'll give you guys my best suggestions and my rating 1 through 10. But I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.